Hello everyone and welcome back to Jacqs. Thanks for joining me today for part 2 of the Remember the Time hop from Country Craft Creations. In the first video, I showed you the first 5 junk journals that I created, and I did a tutorial on how I created those. In this video, I'll be showing you June through December journals, and then I'll also be doing a tutorial on how I'm going to house these. Initially, I was going to do a box, but after reading the comments from all of you, I also had a different idea in mind, and so that just confirmed what I'm going to do. And that was to create one large cover that would house all of these junk journals. I just think it would be so nice to have this really large, chunky journal, and you pull that out and it has all of your months in there. So that's what we're going to do. So let's get started on looking at the journals. So this is the June journal that I created. On the front, if you recall, I created this little tuck spot with acetate and a piece of the decorative cardstock here. And then down below, I created a little collage, and it tucks in the monthly calendar where you could take this out, put in the numbers, write down dates, whatever you like, or if this is being used for just a specific topic, you could also do that as well. And then you can just tuck this back in there, and then it tucks in underneath the acetate up here at the top. I love how that worked out. I sewed those two pieces together and then glued it onto the cover. And all of the covers are sewn down the center, and then the back just has the pretty decorative paper. So if you recall, these measure 5.5 by 7.5. They have ribbon down the front of each of the covers that I've added there. And then on the inside, in the some of the journals, I did some new techniques, or at least to this project, and I may kind of slow down the video to show those to you specifically. So over here, I created just not a full page side tuck, but a half page side tuck here. I think that's really cute. And then this little tag. On some of the tags, what I did that I created was just put some of the decorative paper down here at the bottom. On some of them, I added hole reinforcements that was used from the paper as well. Now here is a new item that I created. It's I added a little tab here, but this opens up. It's like a three-fold or two-fold, giving you 3 compartments of a flip, like a little flip. Great way to do journaling here and add a photo on each side, as well as you could add one here. Then I also adhered it on 3 sides to create a little pocket in the back. So throughout all of the junk journals, I created tuck spots wherever possible when I was adding the decorative pieces. And so I'll kind of just show you that in fast form. On the centerpiece, what I did, instead of cutting down the 12 by 12 width, I folded over the sides, used a doily punch from Martha Stewart, and gave a decorative edge to each side. So then you have a side tuck that's glued at the top and bottom. I really like having that difference there. Here's the July journal. Now for each of the junk journals, I mentioned that I did the same type of acetate element for each of those, and then there'll be some type of element decorative for that month that will be like a stopper at the top or bottom. So I won't go into detail on those so that we can get through these pretty quickly. On the inside, I created this 4-inch tag. I absolutely love how fat this is. Over here, we have a journaling card that I added from my stash. It went really well with this collection. Here it is from Pebbles. It was a whole set of journaling cards. I don't know what collection this is from. It doesn't really say, but this was perfect to go with July. This I got from AliExpress. Now in this journal, I did use some fun fur underneath these elements. I just really love that look. So this is it. It's Lion brand yarn, fun fur. For this journal, I did use an additional punch when using the circles. I used this scalloped edge. It's a 2-inch punch, and it was perfect to go with this circle, which is 1.5. It's another way to decorate. Here's the back side. This is so beautiful. These little tags here that I'm showing you were from Bo Bunny Noteworthy, and this is Time and Place Noteworthy collection. And here I use the ticket to help you turn the page. This is from the Bo Bunny Noteworthy pack as well. Put little tabs on this one. This page here I added, and I had this in my stash as well. This is K & Company Jubilee die cut matte pages, I think. I'm not sure what it says there. But there's 18 sheets, and they have different designs on them. But they kind of punch out, and they're all decorative, which is really neat. Just was a nice blend in this journal. Put a little spider on the back side. I also added some leaves, and that I got from Country Craft Creations. It was part of my design team package. These were from Prima Flowers. I love these so much. I'm glad I finally found something to use them in. Just used regular glue to adhere those. Here you'll see I used that doily edge here. Now here I actually backed the border strip onto craft cardstock. I really like that look. This was just from a tablet that I had, probably from the Dollar Tree. So that was all of the journals, and you have now seen all 12 journals. It was quite a chore to create, but it was really fun. It was actually something I've always wanted to do. I always wanted to create a journal for each month so that you would have an entire year available. So now let's go on to creating our cover to house them. Now when creating this, I thought of many different options, and I just end up coming back to wanting to create one large cover to house them all instead of splitting them up into two covers. even though my hand won't be able to go all the way across very well, I still wanted to make one particular cover. So what we're going to do is cut 2 pieces of chipboard, and this is probably medium weight, and they measure 5 3/4 by 7 3/4. The way that I do this is so that there's not a large amount of border around the actual journal. So here's the journal. You'll have about 1/8 of an inch at the top and bottom, and then about 1/4 of an inch on the side. I just don't really like when there's a lot of extra board. I think it's not necessary. But if you are wanting to allot for tabs on the side or things coming out the top, then by all means, you will need to change the measurements so that you can cover that up if you want to. If you don't mind them sticking out, then that's okay too. The next thing you'll need is 1 piece, and this is the spine. It will be 6 across by 7 3/4. So this will be the width of the spine and how wide the journal will be. But again, I just wanted it all in one journal. Once you have your chipboard cut, go ahead and add your adhesive to the front and back of both pieces, as well as your spine piece. And then we're going to cut some cardstock to wrap our covers. So for the front and back cover, you're going to need 2 pieces of cardstock, and I'm using black. You can use whatever color you want. And these measure 7 3/4 by 9 3/4. For our spine piece, you're going to need 1 piece of black cardstock that is 8 by 9 3/4. And we're going to use the lay flat binding method. And I learned this from Country Craft Creations. I used this once before on a project. I'll have that link down below or up above. I'm not sure which one I'll do, but just to show you another example of me using that type of binding. And I think I did a tutorial in that video as well. For the lay flat binding method, we're going to need our scoreboard, and I'm going to go ahead and put in one of the cover cardstock pieces. Country Craft Creations carries spacers, and I haven't yet purchased those, even though they're on my wish list. So what I've done is created my own spacers. So I've used some heavy chipboard, and I've cut these to be 1 by 12 inches long. And we're going to need 2 of those. We're going to put 1 here along the side, and then 1 along the top. Now, doing it this way, it makes it super easy to take our cover piece and add it right here snugly against these 2 spacers. So then when you take away the spacers, you will have a 1-inch border all the way around. So that's what I'm going to do here today. Okay, so I've put my spacers back down. I've taken the adhesive off of one of the covers, and I am going to go ahead and do this in real time by just, again, making it snug against the 2 spacers and plopping that down. I love that. It's so easy. I'm going to go ahead and do all of my pieces, and then I will come back. Since I showed you how to do it once, it's the same for all 3 of our pieces, the 2 covers and the 1 spine. Okay, we're going to work on the front and back cover first. And one of the first things you want to do is kind of go along and train your paper. So we're going to go along each side and bend over. You could even take your bone folder and go along it as well. So once we do that, what you'll see is that our folds have created 4 little squares in the corner. Now for the lay flat method by Country Craft Creations, Tamara created this. What she does is she comes in and she cuts out the corner. I'll show you an example. So she just cuts on the folds that we created. So then it would look like this when we cut it out. And then you would do that to all 4 corners. Now, when I first did this, what I didn't like was the additional bulk that you got when you folded this over and then folded this on top. To me, that just added extra bulk, and I didn't like it. So what I'm going to do is to just go back to the regular way of cutting across, and remembering leaving just a little bit above the corner of our chipboard there so that we can tuck that underneath later. But when you cut it straight across and you fold this over and this down, there is like maybe a slight overlap or none at all, which is what I would prefer. It just makes it flatter. Okay, so go ahead and cut and get these prepared by either doing the slant cut or the 4-corner cut, whichever you prefer. I'm going to do that to my front and back cover, and then I'll come back on for the spine. Okay, now we're going to work on the spine piece. We're going to once again go along and train the sides. So this creates the 4 corners again on our piece. And what we're going to do is actually add glue all the way across the top and fold this over. So it's easier to go around, fold down the top, bring your bone folder to the side of the chipboard and kind of do a creasing here, and go ahead and do that on all corners. So I'm pushing down to get that creased and then pushing outward. Down and out. Really just helps train the paper. So even though I do feel that this once again adds additional bulk that's really not needed, I'm going to go ahead and do this method this particular way one more time to see how it turns out, since I lessened some of the bulk on the covers. So since I have my adhesive already here on the front, I'm going to go ahead and bend this down. I'm not going to take it all the way off, just bending it down. So now we can take and fold over our piece. Once we have this piece down and we've burnished it really well on the edges and the sides, you take your scissors and you line it up here against the end of the chipboard, and you kind of clip off any excess that might be, you know, we need a straight line here. So if there's any excess over here, just make a quick little cut. And so I've kind of slightly angled each of my corners there. It's really slight. Once you have these corners all prepared, we're going to flip this over. We're going to take our bone folder against the chipboard here, and we're going to burnish on this side as well. The next thing we're going to do is add the covers to our spine piece. So I'm actually going to bring in my scoreboard again for assistance. So I'm putting this piece in, and it's snugly fitting in the corner here. I'm going to use some Barely Arts glue. I don't have any art glitter glue, I'm out. And I'm going to add that here to our little fin, about 1/4 of an inch down, and then all the way around. 1/4 of an inch down from the inside here. Now we'll take one of our covers. I'm going to have to move some of this. I left it on. Let's see. I think what I'll do is put that underneath here. Yeah, that'll work. And since this is in the scoreboard snugly, it's going to help us keep a level side at the bottom. So we're going to take our cover piece, we're going to put it right here where we just scored this, and it created like a little valley. So we're going to lay that right down into the valley, lay it flat down and onto our little fin. And then since we have that underneath, this is still protected. I'm going to go ahead and burnish this side. Now we're going to do the other side. I'm still going to use the scoreboard to help putting this right down in that valley again. Make sure it's laying flat against the scoreboard there, and then press down. I'm going to let this lay flat for a moment and dry, and then I'll be back. Okay, so this has dried. I'm going to go ahead and fold this back and kind of give it a burnish on each side as well. And then we have our cover created. You'll see how nice these sides look here with the binding that we did. And then it certainly does lay absolutely flat, which is really nice. You can't tell from that, but here. So I'm taking these pieces off so that you can see what it looks like on the inside. So this is where we added the flap for the spine piece. It's not on the outside, it's on the inside. Just going to give those a good burnishing. I know we did it a little bit before, but just a little bit more. Now the next thing we need to do is cover the inside of the spine. Now you can cover it from the end of the flaps that we used for the spine, or you could take it just a little bit further out so that not all of the bulk will end here and making it that much thicker. If you put it a little bit past that, then it kind of just evens it out just a little bit. So I think that might be what I do. I did notice that, looking some of Tamara's videos, that she did make an update to the centerpiece where she actually did cut some of the extra fold over cardstock off. And so I put a picture here on the screen so that you could see that. So maybe we'll try that next time. But I already kind of did alleviate some of the bulk, so I think that will help. But I think I'll definitely be doing that if I use this method in the future. So I'm going to, as Tamara suggested, go a little bit past where our cardstock is here. So probably about 1/2 inch on each side. Okay, I have my piece cut. I did go just slightly under the height. So I can't really see to get over this and lay it down, but this is what I'm going to do. I have my piece cut. I'm just going to put it down here over the spine and then out 1/2 inch on both sides, as I mentioned earlier. It's really difficult to see. I guess I'm just going to wing it. All right, I put it down. All right. Yeah, so see, I cut it to where it was just slightly in from the edge on both sides. It actually worked out pretty good. All right, and then we burnish. And I did want to mention that I did add adhesive to the top and the bottom of the spine piece on the inside before I laid it down so that it would be all adhesive. Okay, so now that we have that burnished, we're going to take our bone folder and we're going to slowly start lifting up one side of the cover while we push inward with our bone folder. What we're doing now is just kind of re-engaging our sides here of our cover. There we go. Let's do the other side here. Adding the spine piece to the inside of the cover really gives strength to this type of binding system. So you want to make sure you do that. Okay. So we are good. You can work it a little more if you want, even lay it flat. Great, we are all set. Now what I'm going to do is walk you through the decorating of the outside of the cover. So this would be the outside, front and back cover. And I'll give you the measurements for everything that I'm putting down, and then I'll glue it offline and come back. So you'll need 2 pieces of cream colored cardstock, and these measure 5.5 by 7.5. One will go on the front cover and one will go on the back cover. Now for my cover, I wanted to include a little bit of each of the journals on the front so that you could get the feel of it being an annual item. So what I did was take the cover sheet of the collection, I cut off the top, and then I trimmed it down so that it would fit on here. So these measure 5 1/4 by 3 5/8. Now when I cut it out, it was in one long strip. I folded it in half and then I cut it in half. And then I figured out the measurements that I needed. I cut more off on the roses and more off on the snowflakes, just to kind of help you a little bit. So this is going to go here at the top. This is going to go at the bottom, and these are going to be flush to each other or butt up against each other. And I'm going to put some ribbon, I think, here in the center to kind of bring those together. I haven't figured out which one yet, but that's how that's going to look. For the back of the cover, I've cut out this piece from September, I believe. Really love it. This is 5 1/4 by 3 3/4. That will go at the top. I've cut out this piece. I think this is April or May, I'm not sure. 5 1/4 by 3 1/2. It's really what papers that you think would go together or what papers you want to use. So I'm trying to use those from this collection, and I'm just mix matching the months to kind of get this type of collage. It almost reminds me of wallpaper, and then there's like a border in the middle. So I'm going to use this piece, which is from September as well. And if I have these months wrong, I'll try to let you know on the screen or in the project sheet. And this is 3/4 by 5 1/4, and this will go across here. I could use fabric again, or I may use paper here for this line. I'm just not sure. I just know that this is the one that I wanted here. I kind of like that. I may even make a decorative edge and add that. I don't know. I'll have to play around with that. I didn't think about that till just now. But this is how the front will look. Okay, so as I was working on this, I kind of changed my mind. Before I talk about the spine. I kind of changed what I was doing. So I'm keeping this the same, and I'm switching out the green on the back to this red. And I'm going to put that there. So for the spine, we're going to need one cream piece that is 5 3/4 by 7 1/2. So that will go here. And then we'll need a decorative piece, and this is where I'm going to use that green cardstock again. And this is 5 1/2 by 7 1/4. And that will go here. Now, because I'm using scraps to kind of cover this inside and out, you'll see, I need something that will bring it all together and make it cohesive. So I've used this paper, and I've cut it out with the doily on both sides of it. And I'm going to put one here and one here. And I think that does a nice job of making it seem cohesive. So you have a little bit of this on the front and the back, drawing it all together. So I really like that. So this is what I'm going to go with. I will glue everything down, and then I'll be back. But let me show you the inside as well, because my camera's dying and I want to just have that done when we come back together. Now for the inside cover, now I'm still using the outside, but because I have these on there, I didn't want it to get confusing. So I just wanted you to see black. So if this is, so it would be here. This is the inside cover. This would be the back cover. And I cut out, again, using the scraps that I had. I thought it would be kind of cool to have the inside cover be January. And then we have our journals. And then in the back cover, inside cover, we would have December. I don't know, it kind of just made sense to me. So that's what I'm going with. So the January piece is again 5 1/4 by 3 3/4. And then our bottom piece is from January as well, 5 1/4 by 3 5/8 ish, I think. And then I have this great little border piece that I didn't use. So I'm going to use that. And I think this is about, yeah, 3/4 inch wide. So that will go here. Now, I didn't plan on using the cream color cardstock with this, but let's see what it looks like. Okay, so there it is without the colored cardstock. And then here it is with it. I think I like that. Let's look at the back side without one, and then maybe we can compare then. So for the back side, I'm doing December. I'm using the snowflake paper. Oh, this is probably 5 1/4. 5 1/4 by 3 3/4. The bottom piece is that red 5 1/4 by 3 1/2. 3 1/2. It's almost like right after the 3 1/2 mark. So then I had this left over, and I'm going to add that here. Super cute. So now that I see it like this, this has a 1/4 of an inch border. This has an 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. I think I really like it with the cream colored cardstock underneath. Okay, I think that's what I'll do. And now that I think about it, I think I'm going to make these inside pieces pockets. So just, how can I do that? Oh, well then I'll just, I would just glue this piece onto here, the top of it. So don't glue it all the way down. And then glue this on 3 sides, and then it will just be open here at the top. You can tuck something in there. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. So again, you would take this piece, maybe half of it, glue down. Make sure you do the same here as you do here. And then, like that, glue it down on 3 sides. And then I'm also going to add the cream colored cardstock to the insides as well. It'll be the same size as it is on the front. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Hope it didn't confuse anyone. I'll have it in the project sheet for you. So that's the front and the back, and the inside will have the journals. I didn't pick a paper for the inside. I'll have to do that. So we would put the cream color down again as well on the inside. Maybe I'll just do the cream color because you'll have your journals. You're not really going to see the paper underneath it. Okay, so for right now, that's what I'll do. If I change my mind, I will come back and let you know. I've got to go before my battery dies completely. And that's it for right now. I'll come back when everything is glued on. Okay, I have the journal all covered with the decorative paper. Here's the front. I might still do something to this, but for right now, I'm just going to continue to move on. Here's the spine and the back side. So that's what it looks like all together. I think that worked out well. And then on the inside, I have my pockets here and here. And I did only just put down the cream color paper until we finish this next step, and then I may put some decorative paper there. I'm not even really sure I'm going to. So now that we're at this stage, what we need to do is create the binding mechanism. So we've done the lay flat mini album binding. That's what you saw and see here. And now we're going to move on to kind of a traveler's notebook type of binding. So the center cream colored cardstock is the same height as our journals. There's just a 1/4 of an inch overhang on the side when you lay this down on there. So what I decided to do was to put my holes to hold the journal at the top here and the bottom, right at the very top of the paper. So it's going to be about here, maybe an 1/8 of an inch down. I'm not even sure, probably not. It's probably going to be right there on the edge and part of the black. I don't want to go too close to the edge of the chipboard because then it's just going to ruin your binding. So that's why I think it has to be about 1/8 of an inch down from the colored paper. That's my thought anyways. So I have never seen anyone try to create a traveler's notebook type style binding with 12 holes. And that's 12 at the top and the bottom. So I'll be the first one to do that as far as I know. What I've done is kind of just map this out. I grabbed one of the papers on my desk, which is actually a little sneak peek of something that I have coming your way, hopefully in the near future. And what I've done is taken my ruler. I measured out 6 inches because that's the width of the chipboard that we used. And I needed to figure out how could I get 12 journals in here and bind them. So we're going to use an elastic binding system. It's what we use for traveler's notebooks. So I have my 6 inches here drawn with the ruler. And then what I did was try to figure out the spacing that was needed. So I did it actually on the first time trying to figure this out, which was amazing. So on each end, you're going in 1/4 of an inch. And then after that, it's a 1/2 an inch every mark. Okay, so that's how I figured it out. It's easier to see with the ruler here. So we go in 1/4 of an inch, make a mark, and then we go 1/2 an inch, make another mark, another 1/2 inch, make another mark, and so on. And I have the numbers there of the tick marks that would really be easy for you to do and very helpful. So I will also have those in the project sheet to make it easier for you as well. Now you see we're starting here number-wise at 1/8 of an inch. That's because when we line up our ruler, we're lining it up at the edge of the chipboard. So our chipboard is 6 inches, so we have to line this up with the chipboard. And when we do, it creates our first tick mark when we're looking at the cream color paper at 1/8 of an inch. So I just wanted to make sure that you understood what I was doing. Trust me, you could do this and just guess all along and make your holes. That's perfectly fine if that's the way you want to do it, but that's not me. So I wanted to measure it out. So from the edge of the center chipboard, when you measure in, the first tick mark will be at 1/4 of an inch. But when you're looking at the cream color cardstock that we put down, it's actually 1/8 of an inch. So 1/8 of an inch is the black right here, the edge of the chipboard, and the other 1/8 of an inch is going to be the first part of the cream color cardstock. So that's your 1/4 of an inch. From there, we go 1/2 an inch, and then 1/2 an inch, 1/2 an inch all the way down. And when you look at the end, this one ends up the same, 1/8 of an inch on the color cardstock, and then you consider 1/8 of an inch on the black. I really hope that makes sense, you guys. But I'm going to show you now. So here's my Crop-A-Dile Big Bite. I'm going to be using this. I imagine if you have the handheld one, that would work also. And then I was trying to decide which eyelets to use. I thought about using the 1/8 of an inch eyelets. I have this really great selection here, but I decided I didn't want to do an actual color because, you know, there's so many different colors in the collection. I thought about this great gold one that I have, but it's very a bright gold. And since this is kind of vintagey, I decided to go with these We Are Memory Keepers eyelets and washers, and this has a nice brass finish, and it just looks really good with the collection there. So I'm going to be using these, and even though these are the 3/16 of an inch, they still fit when you go across, because I was worried that they would be too big and run into each other. But because we have everything spaced by 1/2 an inch, there's still plenty of room in between each of the eyelets. Okay, so before I punch the holes, I just want to go through a little bit more of how I created my tick marks. At the top of our cover, I took the ruler, made my first mark, and then based on the information I'll give you, you create every 1/2 an inch. And then what I did was I turned this around and did the same thing. Set this up, made my first mark, and then every 1/2 an inch. Doing that made it much more precise rather than trying to go like this and measure down here what it might be. You know, you're kind of a guessing game. Do you have this straight or not? So that was the best way that I found to make the little tick marks. And that's why I've kind of mapped it out the way that I have. So I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to show you this without having a lot of table movement. I'll try to go through at least one, and then the rest I'll do off camera. So the first thing we do on our Big Bite is to change our little knob here to be at 3/16. And then what that does is gives you the blade to cut the hole. So I'm going to just line up my tick mark with the blade spot and give it a go. And I think the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to put the edge of the blade at the top of where the colored cardstock is and then punch my hole. That way it gives us a nice, probably about 1/8 of an inch or maybe less here at the top. Okay, there's our first hole. So I'm going to continue to do that on the top and bottom, and then I'll be back. Okay, I just wanted to show you the row that I completed. And then here's what it looks like on the back. So I did pretty good. I don't think it's perfect, but it's pretty good. Better than eyeballing it, I think. So I'm gonna continue to do the bottom, and that's where it gets scary, right? We wanna make sure that these line up. So just again, what I'm doing is taking the hole punching blade, I'm putting the top of the blade here above my tick mark, and then kind of centering it over the tick mark as well. Just trying to give you all the helpful hints that I can in doing this. It's kind of exciting and scary at the same time. Okay, here is the bottom holes punched. I just took my eraser and then erased any pencil marks that I had. So I'm really happy with how that turned out. Now what we're going to do is add our eyelets and our washers. Now this will be the first time I've ever used a washer. So I'm not sure if you've ever used them before. I'll go through one with you and then do again the rest offline. Okay, the first thing we want to make sure we have this top one on A and the bottom one on 2. So that's all set. Even though we punched the holes on the inside, we're putting the eyelet through the back side or the outside of our cover. So just push that in there, and you actually put the washer with the rounded side up, not like that, rounded side up. And you're going to put that over the washer on the inside. So I've changed my 2 dials to where they need to be, A and 2, and now we change this top notch and we push it all the way down to the end mark, right there. And we're just going to, see, the hard thing is I'm going to have to put the washer down on the little post is where I'm going to put it. Because I want to turn this over and then push down. Again, you're not going to be able to see this. Today, I can't show you like I would want to. So I'm going to put this on the little post down here, but I'm going to put it where the pretty side will be facing down, since I've turned this over. And I'm going to put this one on top of it, over that post, and give it a squeeze. Hope for the best. Ooh. And there we have it. It looks set. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so I know you couldn't really see what I was doing, but at least I got to tell you exactly what I was doing. I'm going to go ahead now and punch the rest of those eyelets in there. I think that looks pretty good. Here's the outside. Whew. I really like using that washer. Then you don't get all that splitting of the eyelet on the back side, which always ends up being scratchy. Yeah, that's really nice. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, I have all of the eyelets in and washers. I think it turned out really nice. Here it is on the inside. I really love the washers. Like, really, that's the way to go. It doesn't break the metal. You don't end up with sharp edges. Really nice. Like that a lot. Now, before we move on with stringing our elastic, I want to add another element to the spine. And what I've decided to do was add this metal label, but it has like this little notch here where you can, it's like a drawer pull. And I thought this would be great to have on the back side of it, because when it's sitting on your shelf, it's going to be, you know, as we can see, very large. And I thought having the pull would just help you get it off the shelf. And so that's what I'm going to do. I got these from Hobby Lobby. I would recommend a pull tab, or if you have a knob, a Tim Holtz knob, you could use that as well. I think that would be really cool. I have one, but it's a Route 66, and I just don't think it was applicable. Or I would have used that, because I think that would have looked very kind of vintage. Now this is brass, and it does match the eyelets, which is great. But yeah, I was going to put it here, but now I'm kind of liking it up a little bit higher. So I'm just going to use my Big Bite again, and I'm going to use the 1/8 inch blade. I think that would be good for the brads. It'll probably be a little bit bigger, but it'll work. Now, if you don't want to do all the hole punching, you could just, use glossy accents or something strong to adhere this. Okay, I'm going to let this dry and then I'll be back. Okay, now that this is dry, I can go ahead and add my brads to it. At this point, these are really just decorative brads because the glue has really secured this to our cover. To secure these, I'm going to add score tape on the back, and then I'll probably put a strip of decorative paper across here. Oh, the question is, which decorative paper? For the center here, to cover this up, I'm going to use a decorative piece from May of the kids plain. I thought these colors went well with both of these, the green carrying over here, and the pink and the red kind of go together. And then this blue is carried over here. So I think that was great. I didn't want to repeat January or December, so I chose May. And this measures 5.5 by 6.5. Actually, somehow mine ended up being not quite 6.5, as you can see, about a notch down. I don't know how that happened. But anyways, I was going to do it shorter, but I decided I liked it to cover more of the cream color. So I think that'll be good. Okay, so that's what I'm using. You could really cut this to the size that you want, but don't cover your holes, of course. So I decided to add some decorative paper at the top and bottom of this as well. I just took a piece of scrap that I have the same width and cut it in half just to add something there. Okay, so that is going to be the decorative paper for the inside. You could certainly decorate your pockets if you wanted to, put some tags in there, or leave those blank for when you might have something from, your monthly travels to put in there. Okay, our next step before doing any additional decorating is to add our elastic string. And I'm sorry, but I tore this apart. So I have this Maker's Holiday, and it's elastic. And this is from Joann's. It was really neat. It came with gold, silver, and then this really pretty iridescent. So I tore it apart so I could get to the gold. And I've got about 140 inches here. I could cut it down, but I wanted to make sure that I had enough. So in the end, I can probably give you an estimation of what you'll need. Really what you could do to figure it out is measure your elastic, the length of your cover, and you're going to do that however many times that you need to fill one of the holes. So we have 12 holes to fill, so you would do this 12 times. And then what I would also do is do a nice big chunk, maybe one more length, just to have some extra space, because we are going to be going side to side as well as up and down. So this is probably what you would need. To string this, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to skip every other hole. So we're going to go over skipping every other hole, and then we're going to go back. To string our binding, we're going to take our elastic and we're going to put it down into the bottom right hand eyelet, and then pull that through, and you're going to leave a tail. So you're pulling through a lot of string, but you want to make sure you leave your tail so that we can tie it off. We're going to then skip the next one and go to the third hole, bring and push your string through that eyelet, and then bring everything up. Now we're going to go up to the top on the third hole and put that through. We're going to go over to the next two holes or eyelets and then put our string through. Every other one. Come down to the bottom. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth eyelet from the right. Go over 2, put it into the eyelet. Whoops. Up at the top, you're going to go over 2 from that one. Over 2 to go in to the eyelet. So we're going to go down to the fourth eyelet here from the left. 1, 2, 3, 4 here. Going to go over to the second eyelet from the left. Put that string in there. Up to the second eyelet on the left at the top. Now we're going to go over to the last hole on the left. Go down to the last hole on the bottom. We're going to go over 2 to the one that doesn't have any string in it. Now here you need to be a little bit careful, so I would push this one up and then put your string in. Will look like that. Go up to the top, string that through. Going to do the same thing here. I would go underneath the top thread. So where the string is, again, I would push this up, put my string through the elastic. It's kind of hard to show you guys. I hope you're getting it. See what it looks like? We're kind of weaving it. Go down to the bottom one. Okay, so here again, we're going to push this up. Then put our string through. go up to the top where there's no string. Push this up, then put your elastic through. I keep saying string and elastic interchangeably, as you can tell. Then you follow that down, put your elastic through. Okay, on the back side, we're going to again push this up, put our other elastic through, go up to the second hole on the top right. Now we're going to take this and go over one, like that. Bring this down, and then you would take your two ends and you would tie them off. Okay? Now I'm going to, since I have so much on each end, I'm going to move my strings around to where it's less on one end, and then I can cut some of this off. So I'll do that and come back and we'll tie it off. Okay, so I went through and kind of made most of my string on one end. I'm going to cut this now. Well, maybe I'll tie it first. Now I'm still going to leave these a little bit long, so in case I need to adjust these once I get the journals in. So just really going to tie a knot. Like that. Now I tried this several different ways, and the other way that ended up is that the strings would be at the bottom. You would have to tie it across here, and then I just don't think it would look right here, or the other way it ended up here at the top. So this is the only way where I could get it with the string in the center. So I have my journals here in a Kleenex box that it was empty, and I just cut the top off, and I've been using that. I use these all the time. So now we're going to put our journals in, and I guess the way I set it up, I didn't think about that before, but so January would be on the first string, and of course you do it at the center. And you go all the way in. Actually, that works out really well. So let's just keep going. Again, to the center. So now that I'm getting these in there, you could actually probably cut the strings down a little bit less, because I know that it fits perfectly and there's enough tension in everything. I'm gonna still just leave these and kind of just wrap these around the center a little bit. Like that. Okay. Oh my gosh. There it is. This is awesome. This is just like I envisioned it. Now, the reason why I wanted this so wide is because once you start adding your photos, your memorabilia, your list, your tickets, your anything, it's going to fill each one of these little junk journals up. So this gives you plenty of room to expand. Like, how wonderful is that? So as you see, when you set it down, this is what it looks like. So you have plenty of room to grow up to this. I love that. Love it. Oh my goodness. So when you start, there's January, February. Love it, love it, love it. Okay. Now, the next thing we could do is probably add a closure to this. I'm going to do like a ribbon closure, put holes in the front and the back on the cover. and just do a ribbon closure. That way, again, you have room to grow. I was thinking about doing a hitch post like this with a elastic closure, but then you would have this knot hanging out, and if you put this on a shelf, it's just going to interfere with other things. So I've decided not to do that. Now, in true traveler's notebook style, you could punch a hole in the center here and do an elastic closure all the way around. Now, if you do that, you want your elastic to measure the width of your entire cover, and that will give you enough room to cover the whole thing. I thought about doing that, but I just keep coming back to wanting to do a lace closure because of the vintage style that this is. So that's what we'll do next. And then I might do a little decorating at the end. I can show you that. I won't go through it with you. This video is probably already really long. I just love the feel of this, the look of this. So neat. And there is our strings. It gives a nice little decorative element to the cover there. Really like that as well. All right, let me get the ribbon, and we'll get some more eyelets. Probably use the same ones that I used on the spine here to get our holes punched. So I've measured down from the sides, and it's about 3 7/8 inch where I'm going to go down and make a hole. I'm using my Big Bite again, and we're using the 3/16 hole. And I'm going to kind of make my hole again about 1/8 of an inch in from the side. I have that Kleenex box I was telling you about. I've got this seam binding that I picked up from Country Craft Creations. It's like a sage color. I'm going to spritz my seam binding here, just crinkle it up a little bit. Doesn't take a whole lot of water to do that. Look how cute that is. This is my Tim Holtz Distress Sprayer. Love this thing. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. I just wanted a little something. I'm going to find the ends and cut this in half. And this goes perfect with the cover. And to stop the fraying, I use Dritz Fray Check. And then you'll have your little bow at the end. You could cut some of that off if you wanted. But then you want, to make sure you have enough room to expand. So here's the final journal cover that we created. I did add some decorative pieces to this, and I thought I'd go over them with you. On the front here, I didn't want to put too much because of the busyness of the paper. I did try to add some gem swirlies, and it was just really too much. So I ended up going with some wood pieces or wood veneer pieces that I got from the Dollar Tree. So the Inspire here, as well as the butterfly, are laser cut, I believe, from the Dollar Tree. I really like these a lot, and what I did with them is use some Wink of Stella, which you can get from the Country Craft Creations. I used the clear one and added some sparkle to it. Now, I don't know if you'll be able to see that on the camera or not, but I added it to the bottom swirls here and just touched the top of the word inspire and then outlined some of the butterfly here. I also added 3 of these cute little glittered flowers. Now these I got from Hobby Lobby, the Paper Studio Floral Embellishments. So cute. It comes with 3 different colors in there. I really liked how they looked. I used 1 little flower for the dot in the eye. I did add a key to the side where we tied on our seam binding, and I like having that there as well. The color matches that of our eyelets. On the spine, I added 2 pearls, and these were from Michael's rhinestone stickers. They're still drying. I did add a little piece of paper so that you could write what the journal is on it, like the year or something. And then I added 3 more of the die cut or laser cut butterflies, and then again use some Wink of Stella on them. I wish you could see it. It's really neat. It just adds enough to it. Again, because the paper had such great patterns on them, you needed some solid places so that you could land your eyes, and I think this just really kind of bounces off the design in the paper as well. The back side I did leave the way that we created it. I'll probably put a little label down here later. And then of course we created our closure with seam binding, and I did add 2 little pearls, 1 on each of the seam binding strands, just for some decorative pieces. So that is it. The project is finally done. I'm so excited. I just love, love, love the fact that we have all 12 journals in one cover. There's just something about it. I just love the look and feel of it. So when you're ready to use January, you can come in, take this out of your cover, put your cover back on the shelf, use your January journal throughout the month for whatever reason you want to use it: memory keeping, list making, faith journaling, gratitude journaling, whatever your heart desires. And then at the end of the month, you come back and you put it into your storage cover, and then you grab the next month and get going on that. It's wonderful. A great place to store them while you're not using them. You could use it while it's in the cover, or you can take it out. I love the variety that this gives you. So I truly hope that you have enjoyed this project. It has been a heart's desire for some time now. I wanted to create a year-long journal system, and this is certainly it. Well, that's it, and thank you all for joining me, and I'll see you next time.